Hey everyone, so in this video I'm just going to go through some war matches that I've had tonight, and we're just going to go through a variety of different teams and we'll get a good glimpse at how defenses have changed since the Trader has come out. So this defense is actually a very difficult defensive team. Frost has an elusive impair weapon, we have a Trader of course as an S-class. I got a lucky stun on Minerva and she's pretty irritating to be honest because she can apply minus 45% attack down if attacked directly. She also has Outlast, and when she rushes, she applies 175% infection as well as plus 75% defense to her team. What's also annoying about this team, so I'm hitting it again actually, is that this Pete has a focus, stun weapon, as well as cleanse, so it's very dangerous to attack him directly. If I end up attacking him with a basic attack, I could avoid the stun but trigger the focus, so that means all of my taunt and confuse will have no impact on him whatsoever. To find success against this team, it's kind of like playing chess because you have to make a guess every now and then and kind of hope that you get some decent RNG. So like right there I tried to stun Pete. I wasn't able to apply something to Minerva to prevent her from giving that plus 75% defense buff. And I do have infection on a couple of my tunes. This is an example of where I'm just not successful and there's not really any way around it. This defensive team gave a number of people troubles, and it's completely understandable why. You have a very tanky defensive team, and any wrong move or any even close to right move could still end in your own demise because of the composition of this team. So I am hitting this player again, and I'm going to do things a little differently. So I triggered focus on Pete, so I need to be careful. I'm going to gain some AP off of Princess, but I'm attacking Minerva with the two tunes that I'm not going to be using for attacking purposes. Because I know this defensive team doesn't have a commander and won't rush on the first turn, I don't need to use Dr. Stevens right away. And that means it saves me my commander so I can actually lay down an attack, which is where I got that lucky stun. Now, my rampage went off, which was great and helped a ton, and I got pretty lucky on some other abilities. So this person has actually had one of the best defenses I've seen in war so far. I've seen some very good ones. I ended up with MVP for that match. Not a very impressive score, not even 7,000, but it was all right. Now in the next match, this I think is a backup defense that is the same one that they ran last war, I think. There are some openings on this defensive team. What makes it tricky is that with Bide and Payback, of course, normalizing the team is of utmost importance. Losing a tune early on, especially Princess, isn't advisable. It actually hurts quite a bit, but it does happen, and you kind of just have to rebound from that. I'm very thankful that my Priya has Rampage and double attack, and I have team player weapons around her that give her the additional attack that she needs to take out the enemy. Now, this type of defensive team I've seen a few times in war so far. This is Hannibal's defensive team from Zero Remorse. Now, this is something that I kind of recommended to a few players as well, that using L on defense can be really useful, specifically her rush, because she's able to remove focus from the enemy when she rushes, which is huge because a lot of people will be attacking a double trader or a single trader defensive team and use focus because of the taunting abilities. And now we're going to take a take two against the same team. So again, starting out confused is always difficult because you never know what tunes you're going to have. You never know the RNG. I have two 15% infections applied to my commander as well as my focus attack up tune Ivanova, which isn't ideal but is not as impactful, I guess, than if it were my two damage dealers. I know that I'm going to have to attack the trader just because if I attack Aaron with impenetrable defense, there's no guarantee, that I'll get through them. But I'm using Ivanova first to defense down, attack up with Glenn, and then I rush the line with Princess in order to finish it off. But there have been a lot of double traders and single trader defenses in war so far, which has definitely been interesting. I have not had a ton of practice against them, so it's kind of on the fly learning, which is difficult. I am still very happy with my mod choice on my Priya of attack up when impaired. I've been getting huge attack up buffs, which have definitely been helping me. In war, I've had to make a lot of on the fly decisions, like having to target Pete instead of taking out the line of Wangfa and the traitor, because I know if Pete had rushed, he would have brought back 2 tunes and the match would have been over right then and there. In this case, the match is over anyway, but it just goes to show you that some of these defenses are just super tanky and also very interesting. Like, this is another interesting defensive team, and it kind of combats the traitor if someone were to run it on offense, because Sheila has an active skill that can remove 100%, heal reduction, and a lot of players on attack might be running Mateo and Wangfa or the traitor and Wangfa, so Sheila is a great tune to use as a counter, also because when she rushes, she heals. I think she also applies some bleed, and she revives, so Sheila is actually getting some big time in some defensive teams, and she's a tune that I would definitely enjoy using. Against this defensive team, you see that I ended up being stunned to start. I stunned my own Priya, so that was just kind of a messy start, and this is the type of defensive team that I could run a fast rushing counter, so a payback team, for example, but it's really difficult to gauge that at the start. It's something that I'm going to have to remember moving forward. Now, just as a quick side note, I know some people have mentioned this in a couple of my videos where they're hearing some breathing sounds in the background of my videos, and that is actually my dog. She likes to sleep, and unfortunately she snores, so we're all just going to have to bear with it and try to tune it out as best as you can. I hope it doesn't take too much away from the actual war film. I hope you guys can learn something from the film that I'm showing you, as well as give you guys some ideas of the types of teams that I'm seeing in war. I'm hoping that tomorrow I might be able to stream a little bit of war, but that's really dependent on my internet as well as just time. But I guess during a global pandemic, you really have a lot of that. I guess I'm really hoping to showcase some of the defenses that I've been having to face, as well as I find that when I do a live stream, it's easier to showcase my thinking style when I'm attacking, because right now you're just seeing the video of what I decided to record, but with a live stream, it's a lot more candid, and of course you see everything. I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard me having to say throughout this past 6 months or whatever, saying whenever I live streamed, sorry guys, I'll be right back, I have to go move my car, but in this case that's not going to happen. But yeah, it's just all so real sometimes. So yeah, I'm really hoping that I can get on and live stream tomorrow, because there are some really interesting defense teams that I've been seeing, and I've had to adjust a few of my attack teams, not too much, just mainly mod changes in order to keep up with the current meta, and having to make just simple adjustments because of how certain tunes function. And I guess I always find it to be pretty interesting after a major game changer tune has come out to kind of see how both offensive teams and defensive teams have changed. Now, there's a big swing into defensive teams. Just the number of traitors is very interesting, and I think I've seen 2 maxed out S-class traitors, both with 30 rings on them already. One of them has a weapon that's already 5-starred. Like, that to me is just crazy. I can't imagine, to be honest, how much they probably spent to get that set up for this war. It's really just reminding me that I really need to focus on getting S-Class Dr. Stevens up and running as soon as possible, because I definitely do want to try him out in WoC. My faction should be making it based on our first performance. For the first qualifier, we had almost 11 million points, I think, or something like that. So we only needed 1 or 2 million technically to qualify, if we're just going off of projections from the last war. And with there only being 2 qualifiers, it's not that difficult to project ahead. But me, personally, I just like to war a lot. I really enjoy it. I like the fact that I can practice against a lot of different teams and tunes that I normally wouldn't see. It also helps me stay up to date with what the current meta is, and it helps me kind of gauge how good I am at the moment with building my teams, because if my teams are failing, then obviously I'm doing something wrong, and it's more difficult to help people create teams if I can't create my own teams, just as an example. I know I mentioned in another video some ideas on how to combat the traitor other than just pure power, because I know Scopely recommended brute force to get through some of these teams, but some of the defensive teams people have come up with are quite tanky, and frankly, it's very difficult for me to make any headway on these teams. You can see right now in the match that I'm really going nowhere fast. The only reason I held on for this long was to kill a couple more tunes, just to score a few extra points. In war, some of it just comes down to pure strategy, I find, and being aware of what people are running and kind of the patterns that people put out, because a lot of players run very similar defenses or identical defenses really. So by understanding the different patterns in these defensive teams and understanding the tunes, so knowing when this tune is going to rush, for example, because it's very important to be aware of the order of characters and also be aware of a faction. So if you know you're going to end up being destroyed in the first 30 seconds of a match, for example, because you're in camp A, well, you might just go into a match, flee, and then go into the next match, just so you get a few extra points, that 100 points. Or you do what I'm doing and you take your time, because if you know you're going to be done after this, you may as well make sure that you get the W, and that means taking your time, being patient. Now, this is a very slow match for me, but it's a pretty tanky defensive team, and I think in the future I'm going to have to create some sort of infection team to combat some of these heavy defensive teams. Just, I don't know if I can get the power output that I'm going to need, especially as people's defenses become stronger. The more S-class tunes that come out, of course, the tankier we'll see of defenses, or the stronger, or the faster attacks, but with me being a mainly free-to-play player, I know it'll take me quite a bit of time before I can get the new tune that's out. So for me, it takes a lot of time, so I need to really invest, and I need to know exactly what tune I need and be aware of how long it'll be until I can actually get them. Anyway, thank you everyone for watching and listening to my video. I hope to be able to live stream to you guys tomorrow some of WoC, so just look out for that live stream.